Well, hey everybody, welcome to the first 5 of Freedom Valley's home groups.
Where we'll be laying down the foundation for the future of a healthy home group. Welcome to week 4 of the first 5 of our home group system. Today we want to ask the question, am I becoming a better steward of our resources?
And to start that, we should probably define steward, because it's just a word we don't really use. Stewardship means the job of supervising or taking care of something, such as an organization or property. It's management. It's someone gives you something and you manage that. You use it for something. You take care of it, but it's ultimately not yours. Tonight, the topic of stewardship, it deals with money and time and how you use what you have, and that can get a little personal. So I just want to remind you guys, as I'm sure you always do, in your home groups tonight, make sure that you are respectful. If you don't believe in tithing, if you don't believe in serving or whatever, that's okay. You can have honest conversation about that tonight. And everyone, I'm just encouraging you to be respectful, be honest about it. And as always, when you leave your home group, don't feel like you have to share everyone else's business. It's confidential for the people who are sharing it.
Yeah, we're going to be respectful and confidential here today. And we want to look at what the Bible has to say about stewardship. And I think one of the best passages Jesus has to teach us about how to be good stewards is a parable he shared in Matthew 25. And if you'd like, in your home groups, it would be great to read that entire parable, that entire story of Jesus. But we're going to skim over the concepts. Essentially, Jesus says a master gives gifts to 3 of his servants and asks them to be stewards of it. And we see in Matthew 25:14 that he gave money to each steward in according to their gifts, and then he said, take care of this for me. And that idea that the items are not the stewards, that they belong to the master, is so important for us to recognize. Everything we have is ours only because God gave it to us. We are only looking after it. It belongs to him. C.S. Lewis actually said, every faculty you have, your power of thinking or of moving your limbs from moment to moment is given you by God. If you devoted every moment of your life exclusively to his service, you could not give him anything that was not, in a sense, his own already. This idea is everything I have is already God's. A manager doesn't think they're the owner. We are stewards, and we have to recognize that the ownership of everything is already God's.
But yet the master in that story in Matthew 25 held the stewards accountable according to what they did with it. Because it's not just his resources. It is. All the resources are God's. But he has also given us the responsibility over those. So the resources are God's, but the responsibility is ours to take and to do something with.
What will you do with it? What is you're responsible for that?
So, I mean, one of the things you guys should probably talk about tonight is what is in your life, what's in your hand, what's in a resource that you have available to you that you're using, and how can you use it well? Is it your family? Is it your time, talent, or treasure? Is it one of those things? How can you use that for God?
Because we're responsible for it, and we will be held accountable for it. The third thing we see in this story is in verses 16 through 18, that the master calls into account. Actually, it's in verse 19. The master calls into account the servants. He says, where is the money that I gave you? Show me what you did with it. And he calls them into account. He says, you had all of this time to do something with what I gave you. What have you done? First, we need to recognize his ownership, then realize our responsibility, and then know that we will be called into account. And then finally,
if you add up all those responsibilities, what is that going to leverage you for in eternity? And we've said that you recognize his ownership, recognize that the responsibility is ours, not, but will be held accountable for it. And then what lasts for eternity is our reward.
That's right.
Where we get to live with God in eternity, and we get to see the fruit of all of our labor. That's going to be a really special moment for us. So as you guys are talking to your groups today, I want you to think about what is in your hand. What is a resource that you have that you can manage well to leverage for eternity?
Yeah, and this topic of stewardship brings into realization the idea of tithing.
Right.
All of us have a certain thing, and God has already said what's expected of us, 10%. And we can see that in Malachi, and we can see that in other scriptures, that we are called to give back to him what he's already invested in us. And you'll be talking about that in your groups thing, you'll be talking about some other things. be open. Try these concepts out. Test God in this and see what he will do. I think you're really going to enjoy your conversation today.
Yeah, we'll see you next week.
Welcome to week 4 of our... That'll do.